Hi friends, it's Mrs. Mayo in your Garden of Learning, and it's a beautiful day here. It's making me happy. The sun is out, a few clouds. How is it at your house today? So I have two really special books today for our story time. One of them I've never read to any of my students all these years at St. Perpetua. I found it the other day, and it's special because I gave this to my son Michael when he was in kindergarten here at St. Perpetua. So I hope you like it as much as he did. Are you ready to get all comfy, snuggly? Because I'm reading two pretty long books today. Okay, you ready? And it's so old I can't find the cover, but this book is called The Dreamer. And it's by Cynthia Rylant. And I have permission to read this book from Blue Sky Press. So you ready? The Dreamer. There once was a young artist who lived all alone, quietly, and who spent his days as most young artists do, daydreaming. It was a lovely way of living. He would simply lie about, thinking, wondering, perhaps making small wishes. And as he dreamed in his mind, he would see something he hadn't seen before, something beautiful, something new. Then one day, as often happens with young artists, he decided he would make what he saw in his mind. So he made a star. He was surprised at how well it turned out and shyly pleased with himself. And having so well made this one thing, he was inspired to make more. So, as often happens with young artists, he worked all night long making stars, and by morning he was surrounded by heaven. His heavens twinkled and shone, and standing in this radiant beauty, the young artist was inspired to daydream again. He rested among the stars until he found something new in his mind. He set about making this new thing. He worked all night long. By morning, he had made an earth, round and sturdy, full of bumps and chunks and ridges. It borrowed the light of the heavens and sat full of form and grace. The young artist, shyly pleased with himself, rested his back against a smooth ridge and gently closed his eyes. And after a time, he saw another thing in his mind. Blue water. This he painted onto the hard, dry earth, giving it color. The young artist loved the color and wanted more, so he floated on the blue water and dreamed. In time, he saw this. Green grass. He painted soft, sweet-smelling green grass. And as young artists will almost always do, he got carried away and painted some trees. He painted green grass and trees all night long, and by morning he was in a forest, sleepy, and he lay down under a giant pine to dream. In his dream, he saw many, many new things, and they all moved like life. When he woke up, he made every living thing he had seen in his mind. And when he finished, the whales parted the blue seas, the birds dotted the green trees, and a cow nuzzled his hand. He moved among these living creatures and, like all young artists, felt such joy and love for his creation that he thought he might explode with happiness. He wanted to tell someone what he had done, to show someone his beautiful heavens and earth and water and grass and moving creatures. And he looked all around him, but the world was empty of anyone who might listen and understand. Someone with ears to hear and eyes to see. Someone who was an artist as well. So he worked all night long, and by morning he had made a new artist in his own image. Shyly pleased with himself, he made another one. He loved the company. He made one more. The world began filling up with artists. These made new ones, and the new ones made even newer ones, and of course, they all loved to daydream. Living among blue water and green grass, they have daydreamed the most beautiful things in the world. The first young artist, still a dreamer, has always called them his children. And they, in turn, have always called him God. Isn't that a beautiful book? I love this book. I hope you liked it too. So I have one, and it's another one of my children's favorite books. This time it's my Megan, and she got this book when she was in kindergarten. When she was here at St. Perpetua in 8th grade, she read this book to the kindergartners. So it's been really, really loved a lot. So it's called, I got a bee in my face, Miss Rumphius. And the story and pictures are by Barbara Cooney. And I have permission to read this book by Viking Penguin Inc. And she wrote this book, oh, it's even taped. Can you see my tape? To St. Nicholas, patron saint of children, sailors, and maidens. I'll have to show you the picture after when I'm done, because this book isn't staying together anymore. You ready? The Lupin lady lived in a small house overlooking the sea. In between the rocks around her house grew blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. The Lupin lady is little and old, but she has not always been that way. I know. She is my great aunt, and she told me so. Once upon a time, she was a little girl named Alice, who lived in a city by the sea. From the front stoop, she could see the wharfs and bristling masts of tall ships. Many years ago, her grandfather had come to America on a large sailing ship. Now, he worked in the shop at the bottom of a house, making figureheads for the prows of ships and carving Indians out of wood to put in front of cigar stores. For Alice's grandfather was an artist. He painted pictures too, of sailing ships and places across the sea. When he was very busy, Alice helped put in the skies. Can you see Alice helping put in the sky and the clouds? So this time I'll show you the picture while I'm reading the page. In the evening, Alice sat on her grandfather's knee and listened to his story of faraway places. When he had finished, Alice would say, "When I grow up, I too will go to faraway places, and when I grow old, I too will live beside the sea." "That is all very well, little Alice," said her grandfather, "but there is a third thing you must do." "What is that?" asked Alice. "You must do something to make the world more beautiful," said her grandfather. "All right," said Alice, but she did not know what that could be. In the meantime, Alice got up and washed her face and ate porridge for breakfast. She went to school and came home and did her homework. And pretty soon, she was grown up. I can do the same thing because the picture's on that page. Then my great aunt Alice set out to do the 3 things she had told her grandfather she was going to do. She left home and went to live in another city far away from the sea and the salt air. There, she worked in a library, dusting books and keeping them from getting mixed up, and helping people find the ones they wanted, just like our Mrs. Hinton. Some of the books told her about far away places. People called her Miss Rumphius now. And there's her library on the outside. Sometimes she went to the conservatory in the middle of the park. When she stepped inside on a wintry day, the warm, moist air wrapped itself around her, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled her nose. This is almost like a tropical isle," said Miss Rumphius, "but not quite." You can see her in this picture walking in the snow. A conservatory is a place where they grow flowers inside. So, Miss Rumphius went to a real tropical island where people kept cockatoos and monkeys as pets. She walked along beaches, picking up beautiful shells. One day she met the Papa Raha, king of the fishing village. "You must be tired," he said. "Come into my house and rest." So Miss Rumphius went in and met the Papa Raha's wife. The Papa Raha himself fetched a green coconut and cut a slice off the top that Miss Rumphius could drink the coconut water inside. Before she left, the Papa Raha gave her a beautiful mother-of-pearl shell on which he had painted a bird of paradise and the words, "You will always remain in my heart. You will always remain in mine too," said Miss Rumphius. You can see her walking in the beach in that picture. I'll show you this picture and then I'm going to read the words. My great aunt, Miss Rumphius, climbed tall mountains where the snow never melted. She went through jungles and across deserts. She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends. I have a friend right by me. And everywhere I lost my place. Does that ever happen to you? She saw lions playing and kangaroos jumping, and everywhere she made friends she would never forget. Finally, she came to the land of the lotus eaters, and there, getting off a camel, she hurt her back. "What a foolish thing to do," said Miss Rumphius. "Well, I have certainly seen faraway places. Maybe it's time to find my place by the sea." And it was, and she did. I'll show you the whole picture and then I'll read the words. Isn't that beautiful? From the porch of her new house, Miss Rumphius watched the sun come up. She watched it cross the heavens and sparkle on the water, and she saw it set in the glory in the evening. She started a little garden among the rocks that surrounded her house, and she planted a few flower seeds in the stony ground. Miss Rumphius was almost perfectly happy. But there's still one more thing I have to do, she said. I have to do something to make the world more beautiful. But what? The world is already pretty nice, she thought, looking out over the ocean. The next spring, Miss Rumphius was not very well. Her back was bothering her again, and she had to stay in bed most of the time. The flowers she had planted the summer before had come up and bloomed in spite of the stony ground. She could see them from her bedroom window, blue and purple and rose-colored. "Lupins," said Miss Rumphius with satisfaction. "I've always loved lupins the best. I wish I could plant more seeds this summer that I could still have more flowers next year." But she was not able to. And lupins are my favorite flower. We have some in the garden. They're just getting ready to start to bloom. Oh, aren't they beautiful? After a hard winter came spring, and Miss Rumphius was feeling much better. Now she could take walks again. One afternoon, she decided she started to go up and over the hill where she had not been in a long time. "I don't believe my eyes," she cried when she got to the top. For there on the other side of the hill was a large patch of blue and purple and rose-colored lupins. "It was the wind," she said as she knelt in delight. "It was the wind that brought the seeds from my garden here. And the birds must have helped." Then Miss Rumphius had a wonderful idea. She hurried home and got out her seed catalogs. She sent off to the very best seed house for 5 bushels of lupin seed. That's a lot of seeds. All that summer, Miss Rumphius, her pockets full of seeds, wandered over the fields and headlands sowing lupins. She scattered seeds along the highways and down the country lanes. She flung handfuls of them around the schoolhouse and the back of the church. She tossed them into hollows and along stone walls. Her back didn't hurt her any more at all. Now some people called her that crazy old lady. I don't think she's crazy, do you? I'll show you the whole picture and then I have to read the words. So the next spring, there were lupins everywhere. Fields and hillsides were covered with blue and purple and rose-colored flowers. They bloomed along the highways and down the lane. Bright patches lay around the schoolhouse and the back of the church. Down in the hollows and along the stone walls grew the beautiful flowers. Miss Rumphius had done the 3rd most difficult thing of all. My great Aunt Alice, Miss Rumphius, is very old now. Her hair is very white. Every year there are more and more lupins. Now they call her the Lupin Lady. And I wanted to tell you, friends, that you're doing such a good job. The story's almost over. They now call her the Lupin Lady. Sometimes my friends stand with me outside her gate, curious to see the old lady who planted the fields of lupins. When she invited us in, they came slowly. They think she's the oldest woman in the world. Often she tells us stories of far away places. When I grow up, I tell her, I too will go to far away places and come home to live by the sea. That's all very well, little Alice, but there is a 3rd thing you must do. What is that, I ask? You must do something to make the world more beautiful. All right, I say. But I do not know yet what that can be. I hope you enjoyed that story. I love the story of the Lupin lady. So can you think, what can you do to make the world more beautiful? You do it by just being here. But try to think of one thing a day. Something, it doesn't mean you have to plant a flower, but just something to make the world more beautiful. Well, I loved our story time together again today, and I hope you're having a great day and get outside. Bye.